And 2024, I almost backed out of the panel. I'm not gonna lie. I called Adelina last night and I was like, I thought I like exceeded everything we did last year, just from like this market was an absolute beast. And so just the pure amount of effort and work that went into it. And then I looked at my numbers and I was exactly flat, sold the same amount that we did last year. But looking at it, we were both talking and she was like, that's actually a story, Alicia, you need to talk about it. So she wouldn't let me off the hook. But
Yeah.
So 2024 compared to 2023 was about the same. We did over 40 units, 16 million in volume. So pretty good year.
Yeah, that's still awesome, especially when the market overall is down like 30%. I don't know about San Antonio specifically, but still a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And David, let's go to you.
Hey guys, good morning. David Bentic here. I know Elizabeth, you and I are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area together. We need to get together more. Like we need to get some place, meetups, something going on, right? I'm on the Good Home team here in Plano, Texas. Last year I did 42 transactions. It was about 14 million in volume. This year, I added 10, so I'll do about 52, with about anywhere from 16 million in volume. I think the biggest thing for me was, I know we're gonna get into some questions later, but I think the biggest thing for me was like really, really dialing in on the calendar. And honestly, like, we joined Place like last year and maybe early last year in 2020, 2023. It actually took me a couple of months to start plugging in, right? When you're a busy agent, right? Some of the new, it's hard for you to slow down and take a look at what's in front of you, all the new technology. But once I did, and once I started like attending the masterminds and the calls, like that's what really propelled my business because of the mindset stuff that Place works on, but also just some of the nuggets that's always being dropped in some of these calls, guys. Like, even if it takes an hour out of your day, like I learned something new, and then it's something implementable that I can put into my business, and it takes me to the next level.
That's awesome. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty too. Akash.
Hey, Elizabeth. So my name's Akash. I am with the Ben Kinney team here in Austin. I've been with the Ben Kinney company since 2020. I restarted my entire business here in Austin, October of 2022. So last year was really my first full year on the Austin team where I knocked out 22 transactions by myself. And then this year, I'm going to close 31 transactions. So I just snuck into this panel basically. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, that's a huge feat for and like congrats to everybody. Because we know it was a hard year. So I think the question that everyone's gonna have is, what did you guys do differently this year in 2024 than you have done in the past that contributed to your success? And anyone can answer.
Gotcha. I'll go. I mean, there are several things. One of them that comes to mind, like I started to work my database a little bit smarter too. I realized like I had a shitload of past dues and I just needed to get to them faster, right? I had our VAs create like a calling list, but also I started working a little bit smarter. So if I can give you guys some free game, like we had like I'm listing heavy, so I like to go after sellers. So like a good email, quick, simple email that I send to all sellers in my database that were past due, or maybe requested market report said, the subject line said error in your home value, dot, 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 right? And then the email said, hey, Mr. Seller, there's been a potential error in your home value. Well, I'm curious to see if you're wondering what your home is worth currently, right? And I had so many responses on that, right? And that actually generated more conversations to me to have conversations with them to talk about selling. So I worked in my database a little bit smarter. That a great email. It still works, right? Even if I send it to multiple people multiple times, it still works, right? Because they all want to know what their home is worth. And just I think the mindset too, right? Like I'm a committed person, but I became obsessed with real estate. Like I just became obsessed with it, right? Like the people I was hanging out with, like my weekends, I tightened up my weekends. I've stopped going out. Saturday nights were now used for like, watching power ups or maybe going back and watching place calls, right? So I really just stopped, I just became obsessed with everything real estate. I wanted to become better at my craft. And I mean, I just looked up this year. I was like, wow, like, 50 units, like it kind of feels like a blur, but, then now we gotta now we have to nurture those relationships too, right? So this holiday season, I'm gonna go and drop off some past client gifts, some cocoa bombs. I just wanted a quick, simple idea to drop something off. So cocoa bombs are gonna be making some deliveries too. So I know that's gonna go a long way. So I think just working the database a little bit smarter. And I really hate losing more than I like to win. And I think I had like, there was like a client last year that um, like sold with somebody else, and that really bugged me personally. I took it personal. And so I told myself I don't want that ever to happen. I don't ever want that to happen again. So I made a commitment to stay in front of my people. I made a better effort, right? I created like on Facebook, like you can edit your friends list. And so all my past clients, I made like a friends list that says past clients. And every month I would go and show love on their comments, show love on their posts, things like that, just to make sure that I'm actively staying in front of them. Posting on your social media and having them there is one thing, but also engaging with what they're doing, keeping up with them. And then when you keep up with them on social media, you have something to talk about, right? Like, hey, Elizabeth, I just saw you got a new pet. Like, what's its name? Like, tell me about it. I've got a dog myself, right? So just opens up a conversation other than like, hey, how's it going? How's the new house? It just shows that you really care about them.
So many good nuggets there. First of all, we're stealing the email
Yeah, go
because
for it.
totally, I love that. And right there with you on when people sell with someone else. Now that Brivity has that feature that tells us when their listing goes live, I was literally preparing a bag to drop off, just like you, David. And I saw that past client has their house listed. I was just like,
Oh, it was a gut punch, right?
and I even messaged Alex Frank, who I don't know if he's on here. He referred them to me before, and I was like, I did a good job. Like, why did she list with someone else? It was personal. But anyway, enough about me. Great nuggets. I love all those. So thanks for sharing. Alicia or Akash?
Gosh, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go first. So mine was a lot just more, still restarting second year over, very much so plugged in heavily to the system. When I did it the first time around, I was very much so, hey, just put your head down. 5 years later, you should be where you are. Just keep doing the same things that you do every single day. So that's kind of where, as I've restarted over, same mentality. Hey, 5 years, keep doing the same things that you're doing. So of course, expired and withdrawals are a big thing here in Austin, and I don't know if it's with everyone, but we are just seeing so many more expired and withdrawals. A lot of people are calling the expireds. A lot of people aren't calling the withdrawn. So that's just where focusing on the withdrawn list has been a big part of mine. I'm having those difficult conversations, just like, hey, this isn't the price that you're wanting to, but show them a net sheet. When someone sees a net sheet and sees that the difference is $150,000 versus $175,000, they're still pretty happy with that $150,000 usually. And a lot of the times the people that I'm talking to, the agent before never even show them a net sheet. So you have to remember when you're walking into these appointments, you're most likely the best person they've talked to because something went wrong the last time around. Try to dig in, find out what's going on with them. So expired and withdrawals were a big thing, but on my listings, I leveraged every single listing I had because I'm not going to lie, some of them sat on the market for a while. So the ones that were sitting on the market for a while, we were trying to figure out how to get them moving. But every single sign call, every single quickly lead, I was getting them into the property, like getting them into the property. If they didn't like that one, buyer's consultation, find them another property, basically. So that was another big part for me, is really focusing on the listings that I had while I had them to leverage them to get as much as I can out of them. And basically walk away from listings. Like if someone is telling you, hey, I want to list it $25,000 above where you are, and you know that that's not going to get it sold, don't waste your time. There were a few of them that I've wasted my time here this year, and they're coming back next year, luckily. So keeping those relationships are what's most important than ever. But yes, it is something that walk away from listings that you do not think can sell. It is not worth it just to have your sign in the yard. It's not going to do anything because no one's going to text that sign. no one's going to drive by it unless they see it online and see the price that they like. So that would be my suggestion is, just walk away from the ones that you do not think that can sell.
Awesome. So you expireds and withdrawals were new for you this year or just in a new market?
When I first started, it was like 40 or 50 expireds and withdrawals we were calling a month, and now it's like 250. So it's like there's just so much more volume of expired and withdrawals that for me it's a numbers game. Like you will talk to that person who wants to sell that it's reasonable if you call enough people.
Yeah, totally. Alicia?
Yeah, no, I agree with both of those. David, your intention is what I'm after for 2025 for sure. You're right, Akash, it's a numbers game. Looking at 2023, I knew that for about every 22 contacts, I was going to have an appointment. That was not it for 2024. And so we really, as a new agent, you really you focus on your dials and your contacts. Those are your KPIs that you're looking at every week. And then as you kind of transition your business, each Monday, Kaylee and I would look down and be like, all right, we need 2 buyer appointments, 1 listing appointment for this week, 1 pending. Where are they coming from? And so constantly staying on top of the pipeline, and your numbers. At the end of the day, if you have no clue what you need to be doing, you're just kind of running in circles and you're never going to hit that goal. And so it was really important for us that at the very minimum on Mondays, it was, what did we do last week? What was the gap? Let's pivot. Because in 2020, 2021, you could go a few months and then pivot. But in 2024, you couldn't go more than 2 weeks without realigning with your own goals, or you're going to be completely off track for, a while. So just being very much in alignment with your numbers and knowing them and where you're sitting. We had to elevate the listing process, just like you were talking to Akash, being almost, you had to be a little blunt sometimes, and let them know, like, look, in the last market, we could test the market. There's no testing the market. This is what it is. You need to make sure that you're priced appropriately, because if not, you're going to be sitting on the market and you're going to, shoot yourself in the foot. We also couldn't just throw it up on the market without having a staging consult or staging in there and really fine tuning that. All the ones that didn't sell this year that I was anticipating, they were overpriced. I could not get them to come down, or they needed repairs or updates and they weren't really willing to do them. And, having those frank conversations with your sellers and letting them know buyers are just going to go to the next property that's already finished, that is already priced right. They're not even going to try to negotiate with you at this time. And then switching from the sticker price conversation for our buyers to really digging and asking deep, the deep important questions was really, I think, how we hooked more sellers and converted people who were thinking about leasing this year and then buying next year. So instead of asking, what sales price are you hoping to stay within? It was, what do you need your mortgage payment to stay under? And how much money are you willing to bring to closing for this next house? And then we were working backwards to get that sales price. We had, I had one seller, they bought in 2022, I believe. Yes, because we had to make sure we were within that 2-year mark. They brought $5,000 to closing on the sale of their home in order to upgrade their home to a $550,000 house, where we were then able to negotiate, I think it was about $35,000 off the sales price. Plus we got the full concession amount to get a 2-1 buy down and the rest of their closing costs paid for. They doubled their asset with bringing less than $15,000 to the market. So we didn't focus on house A was a loss and house B was a super win. It was, here's the big picture, and we're going to reallocate this equity into this house so that because it's at a higher price point, you're actually making more in the long run and going over the benefits of homeownership with that. So it was really, I guess, to break it all back down, making sure you're in alignment with, your mindset and your pipeline, having those real tough conversations with sellers off the bat, and then maybe rephrasing and pivoting the perspective for buyers.
That's all awesome. What I feel like I heard from all of you is that you're very intentional with your time and who you're spending the time with. So if they're not motivated, right? If they're not in alignment with your goals, like you guys aren't wasting your time. And then also your time spent getting the business, like how much did you guys spend more time last year than years before working?
I think it was about the same. It was about the same, but I really felt like each deal was more challenging to get through, right? Alicia, you said it best. Like we just had to set proper expectations for our sellers. Like this market, I was telling my sellers, like, look, you need to treat every offer that you get as if it's the last one we're ever gonna see, right? And I'm not just saying that just to get a deal, but I know what the market's doing right now. And some of them didn't listen to me, and some of them waited another couple of months before we get another offer, right? So setting those proper expectations. When I went to the place production contest, I think back in October in Phoenix. Ben Kinney said something like very, very powerful. He said, as you grow older, like your social circle shrinks, right? You barely have any friends like as you get older, but sometimes your goals requires you to have no friends. And being very, very intentional with your time and I'm all about alignment and every decision. I think another big thing for me too this year was I carry my goals around. In my notes, like on my iPhone. And every decision I made, I would always look at my goals and say, hey, is this in alignment with my goals? Like every decision, right? A networking opportunity, going out to eat on a Friday night with a friend, something. If it wasn't in alignment, I didn't do it. So, I mean, if it was an educational thing, and then my goals like, hey, make sure I get my CE credits, hey, like I'm gonna do it, right? Or if it's a networking event, my goals is like network and expand my network, right? That's in alignment with my goals. I'm going to do it, right? But if it's not, then, it's okay to say no to things that aren't in alignment with your goals and be selfish with them.
1000%.
I love that. So with all the work that we like, I'm right there with you guys, right? So it's like I align with that quite a lot, David, having to say no to things in order to say yes to the right things. Is a skill to definitely to learn.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what keeps y'all motivated? I mean, that's my probably number one struggle is what keeps me motivated every day. So what is it that makes you watch Power Ups on the weekend, makes you make the 250 withdrawn calls? Like what's the motivation?
I mean, I think everybody will tell you though that motivation's crap. There are 1,000 times. I mean, this morning I didn't want to get out of bed this morning. Sorry, my dad's calling in and I did not not disturb. Sorry, guys. Motivation is crap. I think one big thing for me, because every year I would say, well, I had to hit the numbers because, if not, my kids don't get to do these things, right? And yeah, we can have our vision boards and all of that, but also if you're not in alignment with yourself, with your family, with what you're doing in the business, you're not going to show up and want to. And I think, one big thing for me was having Kaylee, with me, beside me. I knew I had to show up every single day for her. And now, for the team, I get excited. I wake up on less than 2 hours of sleep, sometimes super excited to pour into other people. And so maybe sometimes it's adding something else into the business that fuels that passion. If you love coaching, finding ways to get closer to that goal for you, so that on the hard days, you're still waking up excited.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely say piggyback off of Alicia with that one too. It's something where I would say about mid-year, it was, I was under the goals that I set for this year. Things were starting to stall out. The summer wave, I feel like, didn't come in Austin. I don't know if that happened for y'all, but there was really no summer wave in our area for a lot of our listings. So I was at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get more motivated. I'm just focusing on my big goals. And Ben came in office. He was doing something in the area, and I asked him two questions. One of the questions was just like, how do you get how do you get over the funk, and like how are you able to travel? Because I traveled a few times and didn't really get any time off to myself either, like most of us do. So it was just way more. He said, focus on the little things, like stop focusing on your big goal, bring it down to a little win per day. And that's kind of how I've moved it. I went way back to the basics, like stop focusing that I need to get 4 pendings this month and start focusing that you just literally need to get 1 appointment today. So like that's what I started to focus way more on the smaller wins versus the big goal. And I feel like as you are sizing up and scaling up, you tend to fully lose focus of that small goal and you just focus on the big goal the entire year, and that can be heavy. And then another thing I asked him is just, how do you find time to enjoy yourself even on vacations when your phone is blowing up and everything like that? And it was just like, you can spend 10 minutes in the morning to knock out all of your crucial stuff, and then the rest of the time is yours. Like, just know that every morning when you wake up, you're going to spend 10, 15 minutes, knock this out, and then you're out of work mode for the rest of the day, basically. So that did like significantly help me. And another big thing that helped me was just, we restarted our health journey and we started running this summer and everything like that. Yeah. So like,
Congrats.
energy in itself is significantly increased for me, where at the end of the day it is like I feel more energized, I feel healthier, I feel like focusing on my health was a big part of this year that has really helped my business too, with the amount of energy that I have to do stuff.
Yeah, I can align with you there. And just quick with Ben, I totally texted him something like a couple weeks ago, and he texted me back immediately. And he sent me then pictures of him through his rifle scope looking at a deer. So he really will answer you when he's on vacation. So real quick before we wrap up, whenever, especially for everybody that's not at y'all's level yet, whenever you guys were doing 10 to 20 units a year, what was it that propelled you to do the units that you're doing now? Like leverage wise, strategy wise, like what do you guys see as that catalyst?
Lead generation and time blocking for me. Like, luckily, since I've started on the team, I've been able to do like 20 plus transactions, even with the previous team and then here. And the one thing that has stayed consistent through all of it is I always hit 50 contacts a week. It is rare. There are some weeks that I'm off of 50 contacts, but just time blocking really that 8:30 to 12. Because if you're having 50 contacts a week, 50 real estate conversations, there's going to be enough in your pipeline no matter where you are in your business. I feel like if you're on the bottom end or if you're on the top end, just time blocking those and not spending a lot of time on the uncontrollables. Like that's one of the big things with Ben is like, do not focus on stuff you cannot control and waste your energy on it. You need to learn that as an agent, that like you literally cannot control what your seller wants to do, what the buyer wants to do on the other side. You can present the information and then you're out of it. Because if you sit there and it lets it stir and stir and stir, hours go by and you're like, what did I do? Literally nothing. You really just have to put what you can into it and then leave it and focus on something else, because you focusing on something that you cannot change will not, of course, it won't change anything. It's just a waste of your time.
You're speaking my language. I'm 100 contacts a week is my goal, and I don't have an appointment goal anymore. I have one, but as long as I hit the contacts goal, I don't really have to worry about anything else.
See, it's going back to the basics. For me, when I started in Midland, it was my job is to get an appointment. And if I didn't get an appointment, I'm effectively still unemployed. I didn't do my job. Yes, the 50 contacts on paper should get you the appointment. But at the end of the day, if you didn't get the appointment, you didn't do your job. And so there would be some nights I'm still there at 8 o'clock at night because I'm not leaving until I get that appointment. And so kind of going back to what David says, be unrelentless, be obsessed, and don't quit until you get the appointment. I don't care what time it is.
For me, I don't know if there's one thing that I think it was just a combination of doing the right things in the right order as I was growing. I think time in the business also helps as well. Mindset for me is that I want, because I make calls as well, Akash, in the mornings, expired expired cancels for sub owners. I like to go after the expireds actually because they're a little bit more direct like myself as opposed to for sub owners where you got to nurture them and, you know, hopefully, you know, they list with you, and then when they list with you, they want a discounted commission, but that's just been my experience. But yeah, I mean, you know, lead generation, cold calling in the morning, I believe being a great prospector solves everything, right? I think even if you aren't great on the phones, like that skill would transpire into other areas in your life. You know, something my ears perk up when somebody's talking about real estate, then I automatically start gravitating towards them and start talking to them, right? So I think being a good prospector is a skill that not only is going to get you listings, but also can translate into other areas in your life. And then also too, I remember when I was growing, I just set big ass goals, right? Like I want to do 100 units. That's my goal for next year. I made a commitment to somebody I didn't want to let down, and that was my team leader and also some of our sponsorship here at EXP. I said, look, this is my goal, right? And I think highly of this person, right? So I didn't want to let him down. And so that drove me, right? Making a commitment to somebody who I didn't want to let down.
Love that. And sorry, I forgot one last question for 2025. What are your goals and what are your plans to get there?
So I'll go for it. My goals are just 42 closings for me coming this year. So just going up 12 more transactions before taking a look and seeing if I need any additional leverage. I do have my own VA now, which is absolutely amazing. It is something that has just alleviated so much stress off of me. So that's where that should be able to help me get up to that. And as we go into 2025, the biggest like thing that I'm really just focusing on is just like there are going to be road bumps in the road, no matter what's going on around us. This year was a great example of so many exterior things affecting our market, and I feel like next year will probably be the same thing. But you can be successful. It is absolutely proven that the people do need to sell. The numbers absolutely show that people are selling. The numbers are showing that people are buying. You're just missing out on it if you're not calling enough people. So that's my suggestion is I will be calling as many people as I can next year, because I firmly believe that next year may be a stagnant year, and if it is, the following years will be great. So just time to add more people to that database before we get to, 2026.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think just to piggyback on you real quick for everybody listening, the calls, like you said, that next year might be stagnant. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But for the calls that you make this year is also lead gen for next year, right? Like you might have to double your lead gen because real estate is on everyone's mind, and people can commit to using you today in 2 years.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, expired is going to be, dialing and prospecting is definitely going to be, a big thing in 2025 for me as well. I can't tell you guys if you guys aren't dialing, you need to. I can't tell you how many times, even if I talk to an expired listing, I just text them my contact information that they come back, even if I don't follow up with them. It's crazy. They're just planting the seeds, right? My goal next year is 100 units. How I plan to get there, I don't have a personal VA actually. I need to get one with Place. The team does have VAs that I think they put a little bit more priority on me because of the amount of units that I'm doing. And just my other goals are to get that the 50 transactions this year will get me into senior partnership. So I plan on exploring the coaching path as well at Place.
That's awesome. Stresses me out to think about selling 100 units, but I fully think that you would be able to.
Maybe it's a little bit of ego, right? But
yeah. Well, if you focus on listings, it's definitely easier.
Yeah, definitely.
You could totally do it.
Yeah, you could totally do it. It's just like stressing me out to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I think too, is like, I think this doesn't apply to this group. However, there's agents out there that shouldn't be representing clients, right? Let's be real. I want them to be with me and who like great agents such as yourselves, right? I'd rather them be with me than anybody else because I know they're going to get a great service.
Yeah. I love that perspective.
1000%. 1000%. Our goal is also 100. I'm not doing this alone. My personal goal is 50. Kaylee and her team, they're gonna probably be around the 30 mark. Her goal is only 28, and I know she's just gonna blow that out of the water. And we have a new agent, Robert Ott. I say he's new. He's been in the business 5 years. He is stellar, and he's gonna do amazing things as well. And so with them and Andrew back on board, we're gonna continue recruiting and stay focused on the one thing in front of us each day that we need to do to hit it together.
Awesome. No doubt you guys will make great things happen next year. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists before we hop off for the morning? Or do you guys have questions for each other?
Akash, I do want to know what your personal VA does for you, but that might be a different call.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll definitely say my VA takes care of a lot of my like team giveaways, client reach outs, a lot of the emails that get sent out, and then he will be following up with my specific like listing alerts and people that are looking at my website, checking in, sending the address, being like, hey, do you want to go check this out? So as soon as I say like they say yes, I'll be able to hop right in and schedule it essentially.
Love
Yeah,
that.
that might have to be a different call for sure. We can talk about that forever.
Yep.
The question, what tools are you guys using for expireds? What are you doing about numbers being marked as spam?
If y'all haven't registered on Hiya, I highly suggest it. Register your number as a business as well. So I've registered my number as a business on Hiya. HIYA is the website name. They don't block like it. I think there are a few services that it does not work for, but I believe T-Mobile and AT&T it does work for. So anyone who's like has T-Mobile, AT&T, you won't come up as spam. But I think Verizon is one of the hardest ones to have that spam thing removed from.
Yeah, I was gonna say, call the provider, see if you can have it removed, but remember these Brevity numbers were probably another number from another call center. So try to get your engagement up. If you're at open house and you get their information and say, hey, I'm gonna text you my contact card. Can you give me a thumbs up that says you got it? Just that simple thumbs up. That engagement reduces your risk of coming in as spam.
It's a great tip. Anyone else have any questions for our panelists? All right.
And then on the expireds, sorry, we're using Mojo, but Land Voice, if you don't have the beta version yet or have the Brevity on Land Voice, you'll have the canceled expireds on there eventually.
Yeah, I haven't played around with it yet, but I know a lot of the agents on the team have been doing that.
It's pretty cool.
And Place owns it, so definitely use our tools. Alrighty, guys. Well, then we'll wrap up for the day. Thanks so much for being on Texas Power Up with us. Sorry I'm not Adelina, but hopefully I was a decent replacement. Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah to everybody. Happy New Year. And we will see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye, guys.